money flows towards points of communication. The more that you communicate to the wider world and the more that your message goes out, the more income you will receive. This is just basic laws of money.
Welcome to the Customer Commerce Podcast, where technology's fast and biz is a blast.
In life and in business, time is precious. It's why customers stay or leave and why businesses succeed or fail. We're here to give a voice to everything that makes business, whether as a customer or as a CEO, easier and more rewarding. Welcome to the Customer Commerce Podcast. Let's dive in. Welcome, ladies and gents, to episode 34 of the Customer Commerce Podcast. We are blessed again to have blessed.
Come on. I know your checks get written, but really.
Well, I only say that because you have 50,000 meetings a day and somehow we can squeeze this in. So I'm going to use you in all the ways I can.
Fair enough.
We do have the other voice that you can hear is the one and only Mikel, CEO, founder of Store Connect. And it's kind of like a one-on-one, I don't know, would you say it's not a business consultation, but I feel like those that are listening that are business owners kind of get a private mentor session, because I'm going to ask all the questions that...
An interpotty.
I love that. David Breyer has the espresso pods and you have the interpotty.
Interpods. It almost sounds like interpotty, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's
anyway,
just
we're gonna have to go back to the marketing team on that one.
I think it's just the Australian accent in us.
That's right.
It sounds like it. Well, we have a few topics that I was reading through Forbes, because that's what I do in my spare time. I just read Forbes. No, but I will tell you.
I'm laughing for those people listening, not because Jess is reading through Forbes, but from the action she did while she was doing it. It's like flicking the hair back.
I mean, it is kind of ridiculous. But I want to say something. For a while, I've been a little bit critical on LinkedIn. I've just kind of, I don't relate to
like
it.
LinkedIn as the platform?
Yeah.
Right.
Like who am I to be on LinkedIn? And I feel like there's a consideration that people have, and some of them are like, yes, I wear a blazer, I can own LinkedIn, this is my platform. And other people that are business owners that may not feel like they're aesthetically like business designed, like from the outset.
Yeah, totally. Like that whole the thing about LinkedIn is being willing to talk about yourself, and a lot of people don't want to do that.
A lot of Australians specifically too.
Well, yeah, I mean, 100%. But I think it's a worldwide phenomenon. You know, the Americans typically, like the American tends to talk more about themselves. You know, that's a common view outside of America of Americans. Fair or not, it's what it is. And self-promotion and things like that. And Australians especially, we're horrible at self-promotion. We have something in Australia, we have a term for it. It's called tall poppy syndrome, where we will literally, as a country, cut down anyone who sticks their head up. You know, it's just, that's what we do, and it's not good, but it exists. So, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Totally.
But what I've noticed, because I've just been lurking in the background for like a year now, working with Store Connect and managing the socials and figuring out what it is and how one can communicate on that platform. And I realized that it's not as scary as I think people think, or the idea of it is actually to promote oneself, to then inspire others and just have conversations about that. It's different to every other platform. And so from that, I've decided that I read Forbes now.
Nice.
Not really. But it has inspired me to look into statistics and start having conversations that are based on real life facts, rather than this is my opinion and this is how I feel, and you know, that's all.
Yeah, totally. I mean, look, social media from my point of view, I mean, I'm active on X and on LinkedIn. I've also got a Blue Sky account, for what that's worth. Haven't seen a lot of activity there. I think it's just a different group, different crowd. But I don't tend to be active on Facebook or Instagram or things like that. But, you know, it's interesting because I've been more active on social media in the past, I don't know, 6 months or so. And quite often I'll be in a conversation with someone whom I've never met, and they'll refer to something that I posted. And this is in a business conversation. This is something, totally unexpected for me, that this person who is now a prospect has already spoken to me. And well, they feel like they already know me to a degree, which is true, because there is a part of me that I do post online. I obviously don't post everything. You'll never find a photo of my family or daughter on my social medias. That's just part of my life, that I'll talk about them, absolutely, but nothing specific. But I definitely put on there a lot about my business learnings and some failures and some successes. And I think if you can be authentic and actually talk about things that you are concerned about or you have some expertise in, it goes a long way, and people can see it. I had one person actually on a call with a prospect. They asked me, who does your social media posting? And I went, what do you mean? And they went, well, because, how do you, you post a lot? And I went, yeah, it's all me. And they went, how do you do that? And I said, well, you sort of have to get into a fitness level of it. You have to sort of be spotting things and go, oh yeah, I could write something about that. And then you have to remember to do it. So, but yeah, it's me because of the number of typos in it. It's definitely not AI. It wouldn't make as many errors.
But also, I wonder, because a lot of people, they go to post, they want to post, they have something to post about, but then they have this but what is it going to seem like to other people? Or does this make me sound sophisticated? Does this make me sound like, am I saying it the right way to be understood by everyone? Like, what does that go through your mind at all? Or did it?
Not well, there was a little bit of no one would really care. But the really powerful thing is, first off, no one cares. So just post. I mean, look, you're going to be seen by, as you start on social media and you find your voice, as long as you're posting about authentic stuff that you believe in, it can't be wrong. No matter what you post on social media, someone somewhere could take offense to it, right? But so what? It's like there's an old saying, if you're not making enemies, then you're not trying hard enough. There's, do you know what I mean? Like, there's an aspect of life where if you're not communicating, you won't create an upset. Well, that's fine. But then the solution is not to not communicate. Like, you have to go out there and talk. When you start talking and when you go into action, you are going to end up in trouble. Like, it's just going to happen. So you may as well just do it anyway, right? So you may as well be cause or causative over which way you're going, so that when you go into trouble, at least it's an area that you want to be in, as opposed to some other trouble of no income or no money or no customers or whatever. So just go for it. The worst thing that's going to happen is you get something wrong, and then if you get something wrong, you just post, hey, I got it wrong. And people actually appreciate that. They go, okay, yeah, well, he's a real person, or she's a real person, or they're authentic. And don't worry about trying to present the best image of yourself. I think that's also a falsehood. It might be true for Instagram, which is a very specific social media platform that rewards that perfect view. But I think LinkedIn, X, Facebook to some degree, you're better off posting your wins and some of your failures. Like, I wouldn't make an account of all failure, because no one's going to follow you.
It's going to be like, oh God, this guy.
Yeah, I just screwed up again. But, I've posted things about how I've lost a client and what we did about it and the learnings we took out of it. And they're some of my most engaged posts, because the people reading them appreciate the honesty, appreciate the view into what could have been a tragedy, turning it into something that's a win, and taking some learnings out of it to avoid doing it in the future. And that obviously makes you more real. And at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to create a sense of pre-understanding with your target market. You know, if someone's buying Store Connect and they go look up Store Connect and then they end up on LinkedIn and then they see 50 posts by me over the past couple of months talking about different challenges that we're doing, instantly I am more real to that person than my competition who have just a single corporate page posting about their latest client success, right? But if it's the CEO going, I really love this success story, you know, working with Care Australia and being able to send a friend of mine a goat online is fantastic. By the way, you can do that. You can send them a goat gift card and it's just awesome. And, you know, doing things like that just creates this, oh my gosh, you know, the CEO is actually engaged with the product and talking with the clients and being a person. You know, that's people want to buy from people. They don't want to buy from websites. I mean, they will, but on any considered purchase, you want to be assured of what you're buying and have that relationship in place, and that's how you avoid the you know, non-purchase or the fail to sale.
Love that. So feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah,
and speaking of fear, customer fear is a real thing.
Yes.
And going back to the Forbes articles that I read every single minute of
You're
the day.
amazing. I wish I had your discipline.
Oh, I know. But there was one thing that I was reading because, you know, you have
I just got to say, I love your post about the swear jar. I totally want shares in that. I'll be a millionaire.
Oh, are you saying it because you hear me swear a lot, or are you saying it because you also swear?
No, you're swearing. Totally.
Did I
my
swear
wife's got a swear jar in our family, and it's one of the few things that actually shifts the NASDAQ every year from the so I want shares in someone else's swear jar.
Yeah, I love that. It's actually so bad that I don't even realize that I say it. And then sometimes people are like, oh my God, Jess, you swore. And I was like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. But people, anyway, there is a swear jar. I don't have it with me right now, but
well, it's too heavy.
Earning. I don't know why. I probably won't need this job after a while.
On the aeroplane on your last trip because of the checked baggage cost.
Yeah, exactly. But there was
anyway.
This
what
thing
were you saying about Forbes? Tell us about Forbes.
Thank you.
Would you stick to the topic? Come on.
Right. So Forbes had an article out about a new acronym. So you know how you have the fear of missing out, FOMO.
FOMO. Yep.
Which companies tend to push a lot for, like e-commerce specifically with their email marketing and their advertisements. Like,
especially in
don't miss out.
And direct.
Yeah. Yep. Only available until midnight, Black Friday sales, blah, blah, blah. There's a new one that is called FOBO. And I just love it already.
Oh,
but it's it sounds like a bear, right? FOBO.
Yeah, totally. FOBO, the bear. The wonderful bear. Yep.
Okay, so this is FOBO, FOBO, fear of a better option. So this comes into play when a customer hesitates in the buying journey to explore alternatives or simply freezes with uncertainty. It's the paralysis of analysis, right?
Yep.
There's so much choice that the customer is like, I don't want to choose the wrong one. So I don't want to choose the wrong one, or I don't want to miss out on the best one. So I just won't buy. And this is a difficulty that actual businesses come across as well, because
in B2B sales. Yeah, absolutely.
So the guy who actually created this acronym, he's a sales expert. His name is Matt Dixon. And he says that 40% to 60% of B2B purchase processes end in no decision statistic.
I reckon it's
so I wanted to get...
I'd say it's probably closer to 70 plus.
More? You reckon?
Yeah. Easy. You know, and the reason for that is April Dumford, actually, who's positioning genius around B2B SaaS software and things like that. And if you haven't looked at her work, go get her book. Obviously awesome. It's fantastic reading, required reading for anyone doing B2B marketing. But the reason that she puts into that book is the person who's buying your thing has probably never done it before and is probably the only time they'll ever do it. And so let me give you an example. Like Store Connect, we sell online e-commerce platform built on top of Salesforce. So the person that's buying that product from us is probably only ever doing it once for their business and they're employed by that business, for the entire time that person's at that company, they'll probably never re-platform. Like, it's not like they're going to do it next year again unless you really screw up, in which case they've learned a bit more and now they're only doing it again once correctly. And you're dealing with people that have no real deep knowledge in what's happening, and their primary purpose of buying your software allegedly is to achieve the goals that their manager has given them. But in actual fact, it's actually probably more like, I really don't want to get fired over making the wrong decision, right? So there's a lot of fear involved. Did I ask all the right questions? Have I forgotten to ask the killer thing that's going to derail this project 9 months in, and I'm the one that chose it, right? This is why you never used to get the odd saying, you never got fired for buying IBM. Now it's probably, you never got fired for buying Salesforce. It's, these sorts of ideas, because enough other companies have gone ahead that you making the decision to buy that product lowers the risk of it backfiring on you, because you can always say, well, I followed the industry standard. What did you expect of me? And that plays out. So the uncertainty is a massive factor when selling in B2B. Massive.
Yeah. But also, like things like not just B2B, but B2C customers, for me, I go, well, I need a new phone soon. I'm going to go to Apple because that's what I know. And, I'm very unlikely going to look at Samsung, or now I am because my partner uses it. And I'm in such disagreement with how Samsung takes their photos. But you know what I mean? It's they go, even if you haven't used that product before, the one that seems the safest, that whether it's food even, or anything that you're like, well, Dyson's advertised everywhere and a lot of people talk about Dyson, so I'm just going to go for a Dyson.
Yeah, I mean, there was this thing, I don't know the source, so internet, I could be completely wrong on this, but I remember reading something about McDonald's where they don't design their food to be the best possible food at any time.
That's for sure.
Right? But they design their food to be a known standard, even though it's lower than the competition. Because no matter which McDonald's you go to, the stuff tastes the same. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in America or Australia or Italy, you buy the Le McMuffin from France, and it's going to taste the same as the McMuffin in the UK and the McMuffin in America. So they've adopted a standard, albeit a much lower standard. You can go to the corner burger store and get an amazing hamburger or not, right? But you don't know. So there's a risk factor. Whereas the McDonald's one is just, we're going to give you exactly what you know you're going to get, which doesn't look like the photo, by the way. Just, we all know this. And it's going to taste a certain way, and it's going to taste that way. So at 3 a.m., when you're looking for a hamburger or a pack of fries or something, that if I go there, in 10 minutes, I'm going to get something that I know, as opposed to I'll go to this other store on the corner and maybe their oil is 3 weeks old or something and it's going to taste crap, and now I've wasted time. So there's definitely an aspect of having a known quality and a known quantity. I think the other way to handle this is social proof. And that's, that even comes back to that social media thing, right? So I've had clients and prospects in part by Store Connect because they've seen me posting online, because I'm a known quantity to that degree, more than the competition, which they know nothing about the management because they're just not visible. And that's powerful.
Well, for sure, like what you were just saying, you're real to people.
Exactly.
So if there's listeners out there that, they're not in the tech world, they run, I don't know, a bakery, or they run a clothing store.
Farm equipment.
How, like, something that doesn't seem like, you're very passionate about coding and you're passionate about the tech industry. There's some businesses out there that aren't passionate about pastries, or they're not passionate about, plumbing, but yet they're in a business, right? For whatever purpose, they're on a mission, but they're not passionate about the product. Maybe.
Yeah,
So what advice would you give for someone to do that on social media, to present themselves and talk while still staying authentic?
I mean, I talk about tech and things, but I also talk about building teams a lot. So a lot of my posts are around how to get the best out of your staff and how to get the best out of your team, which is actually also interesting because my team read my social media posts, right? So they also are getting educated is the wrong word, but enlightened's the wrong word, but they get a deeper understanding about how I approach problems, and then they can then use that in their own job, and then they go, oh, Michael said blah, so this situation's a problem in front of me. He said blah, so I'll just do blah, and that should be fine. And usually it is, right? So there's definitely that aspect. But also, you know, talking about tech can be a lot harder than, like, if I was running a farm machinery business, it'd be actually easier to post online because I'd have physical things I could show off. You know, I could go up and go, you know, this customer just bought in this secondhand tractor for a trade-in. If you're ever in the market for a secondhand tractor, here's some really important things just to look out for. Video. See that little hairline fracture there on the right-hand axle? That means that there's probably a bit of dust inside the bearing housing, so you're going to have to get in there and inspect that, which means that could be a costly repair job. So that's something to look. You know, this sort of content would just write itself. In tech, it's actually a little bit harder because you're talking about something that physically doesn't exist, right? It's all ones and zeros or web pages or sites and things like that. Baking. Do a video of you walking into the store at sparrows fart and turning on the lights, and this is how I start up the oven. You know, like, people will lap that up. You would be blown away. There's a thing called what's the term for it? Maker porn. Believe it or not, it's like, it's obviously not sexual pornography, but it's like the idea that men, especially, but anyone technically minded or engineering minded, really love watching craftsmen and craftspeople create beautiful things. And I've had a couple of videos where I've watched someone making a beautiful chessboard out of wood, you know, for half an hour, and all the intricate, everything they had to do it, and putting it all together and creating this beautiful aesthetic piece of artwork effectively. So there's, you know, I wouldn't worry about, is what I'm going to post interesting enough to the world? Find something about your job that you do love, or if you're not passionate about it, figure out what you were passionate about. Why did you even get into it? And then post about that. Post about your journey, about going from, I used to love making donuts and now it's just taxes. And this is my journey of dedicating 1 hour a week back to experimenting with making donuts because that's what I love about my job. You know, people will love it. And you'll get more customers as a result because they'll go, oh, yeah, I was in wherever you were, and I remember your video, and I thought I'd come by and say hi and buy a donut, and can I have one of your special ones? You know, it's crazy how it works. But the fear of this is all about creating that reality with your customers and creating that understanding of who you are and what you do and why you're doing it. And a non-zero percentage of everyone that views that post will agree with you, and a non-zero percentage of those people will be prospects. So it's free marketing. It's not free. It takes a little bit of time, but
yeah. Have you noticed a difference, because you've been in the business game for a while, and not just Store Connect, but many others before, probably more than I even know about. I know about, I think, 2 or 3, which are currently still running, but I don't know what you had before that. But did you notice the moment when you realized as a business owner that, customers and the way we interact with each other are different? Like, did it come from social media, or did you realize, like, I have to be a face and be real? Or have you always been like that? Have you always just been in communication with?
No, I got on social media out of being forced.
Recently?
Totally. My ideal scene would be no one knows my name. I don't exist. I just sit in the corner and create. I love that.
We should give you a wig and you can be like, see ya. And just
I'm very much an introvert. I say that and people go, "What?
Yeah.
What?" Because I've sung on stage, I've sung with bands, I've acted in front of thousands of people on plays, and I've done all sorts of things. But the whole social media thing to me is very unnatural, very 100%. But I do it because it's needed and wanted for the expansion of my companies. I mean, I've had 7, I think. I've sold 4. Yeah, and I've got 3 left. So, it's been a busy 15 years.
Yeah.
And before that, I was a volunteer for 10 years. So, the whole, I just love creating and doing my thing. But the problem is that the modern world has very much evolved over the past decade and a half to be one that expects result instantly. And the idea of spending days, months, weeks, whatever, researching something before you buy it, people want answers now. They want to satisfy their need now. And you have to be willing to be there and communicate with them in the medium that they're willing to talk to you on. And all of my customers are on LinkedIn. So I go on LinkedIn, and I start posting and I talk about my running journey or my how I built a team or how someone in my staff screwed something up and I realized the prior cause was me failing to do something, and I talk about that, or whatever happened, right? You just start communicating and yeah, I was sort of forced into it, to be honest. I'm sort of being forced right now into video too, which I don't tend to do a lot of,
But I think it's cool for others to, feel, well, one, that they're not alone, whether they feel like they're an introvert and they feel uncomfortable, but goddamn, maybe you don't have to love social media or love this platform or love being on the camera like some people, but they're going to do it anyway because actually that's the greatest good of their company. So it's interesting that really you view it rather as a be all and end all, I must, be viral on social media. You view it as more of a practice.
Well, here's a datum, right? Money flows towards points of communication. And this is completely, utterly true. The more that you communicate to the wider world and the more that your message goes out, the more income you will receive. This is just basic laws of money. If you want evidence of that, it's just everywhere. The most popular brands make the most money. Why? Because everyone knows them. It's just the movie stars make money because they communicate to so many people, right? That's why they make money, because they have this communication with millions of people around the world. Taylor Swift makes a lot of money singing because arguably pretty much every person on the planet knows at least one of her songs, and they can sing along to it if they had to. Even if you don't like Taylor Swift, you probably know at least one of her songs. Or if you don't know that it's her song, you would recognize it if you heard it and go, I've heard that song before. So you've got this massive communication line. Now, love or hate Taylor Swift, that's not the point. The point is that she is a genius in creating that massive reach, right? So she can monetize it. So my view of social media is twofold. One, I do actually, while I dislike the fact that I had to become social media, I found reasons to like it and I've found ways to enjoy it. And occasionally I'll get a post that says, hey, Michael, your blah, blah, blah has inspired me to be a better person. And that's fantastic when you get that sort of act. It's just amazing, that acknowledgement. But the truth of the matter is that as my companies expand and grow, me being active on social media will just propel them forward faster because, if I have 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 LinkedIn followers, my communication reaches 50,000 people as opposed to 2,000 people, which means that there's a larger percentage of those 50, the same percentage of prospects equals a larger number, and you just can grow, and success creates success. It becomes a snowball. So that's why I'm doing it. And if you feel uncomfortable about social media, only put on social media what you want to share. Like, you don't have to share that you had a taco for dinner. Like, I don't know that maybe I have ages ago posted something about food back when it was a big thing, but if I've had a really good experience at a restaurant, I might talk about the experience. But I wouldn't be trying to share every detail about your life. I mean, sure, if you want to, but just find something about your job that's interesting, that's inspiring, that is challenging. If you wanted to get into social media and learn about how to do social media as a business owner, you could even start posting about how you're learning about getting into social media.
Isn't that funny that would be more interesting than anything kind of like scripted? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Try not to script it. That's the worst thing you can do is hyper analyze what you're posting, because then you come across as an AI bot, inauthentic, whatever.
Yeah. And it probably takes the enjoyment away after a while.
Absolutely.
But I love that. Communicate.
Totally.
Practice it. Beautiful. Michael Linzer, thank you so much. We will see you next week.
Okay. Bye all.
Ciao. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you had an awesome time, leaving you with ideas on how to improve your business and wow customers. If you'd like to leave a real customer's story, head to the link in our show notes and cuss away. Love the show? Please subscribe and leave a review, because that enables us to help more businesses in building real relationships with customers and grow more rapidly. See you next time.